Knowing the field coil is not repairable, let's just go ahead and wind a new coil. I had checked the other day. It looks like this wire gauge that was in the field coil itself was probably 40 AWG. Here's the existing metal enclosure that the old coil resided in, and there's some rust inside. I'll take some time and get this de-rusted. So what I elected to do was go ahead and create a new bobbin with some flanges and you know, these old spools that your hookup lead wire comes on. This is the perfect size. The center pole piece, or what will become the magnet once the field coil is energized, is 3/4 of an inch roughly. So this is a perfect fit for that. So you can see I've got a flange over here missing, and here's my modified bobbin now to receive the new magnet wire. Some epoxy here on this end, everything sanded, filed, and the circumference here of the bobbin to fit inside the form itself here. I got a B for bottom representing to go here, and just goes in as such. Before I wind the coil, here's a look at the speaker itself now, the speaker frame, and these are the modifications I made. Before I had these little stubs coming up from the field magnet assembly, or what I referred to as the yoke for this center pole piece, and you can see I've drilled 4 holes in using some number 6 screws. And then I drilled holes as well inside the iron pieces here, and have those threaded. Now these will be filed down flush, or just about flush here with this existing piece of metal when I'm done. But this is more of a dry fit. And there's some wiggle room, and I still may have to extend these. There's some alignment that I'll have to do, 2 parts of alignment. First, make sure the center pole piece, and we'll refer to this as the magnet here in the center, will need to be perfectly centered inside that frame area here. And then the second adjustment will make sure that this metal piece here in the background is also in the center of the speaker frame. So like I've done in the past, I've drilled the holes here in the frame just a little bit bigger. They're tight right now, but they're loose enough where I can move this around just a bit and make some adjustments. But in some additional videos I'll show you guys how I'm going to at least do my best to get this completely centered inside the field magnet assembly piece, as well as making sure that that piece is centered into the speaker frame itself. If not, we'll have rubbing of the voice coil. So all this effort would be for nothing unless we take the time to do it right. Let's see, you can see I've done a little bit of sanding here on the speaker frame just to clean up a little bit of corrosion and some flaking paint. We'll touch that up as well. Still got to get the output transformer on, and then you'll see the other big modification that I made. The center pole piece was stamped into that assembly, so you guys saw I had to drill it out, and these fasteners actually just hold the center pole piece intact here, and you can see it come out. So it will be a removable center pole piece in the future. And when I do the alignment here, of course I'll use shims to get that into the center, and we'll tighten these down, use the appropriate locking washers and some Loctite or something around there to keep this from hopefully shifting in the future. Let's get the coil winder out and get it configured, and go ahead and start winding a coil. I need about 1800 ohms of DC resistance, so I did the math and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'll touch on that in a moment. I think it's just under 1,700 feet of magnet wire. You can see here I'm just using a little tape here just to build up the shaft here that the spindle itself will reside on for the 40 AWG magnet wire. Got the wire loaded here. It will be coming over the top. We'll feed it here over my guide, and let me get this receiving spool here set up as well. And I've got the receiving bobbin here placed on. I've got everything set here on the bobbin, and I think we're ready to go. The 40 AWG wire, of course, is mighty fine, so we'll keep an eye on the tension here. I think I've got this nice and loose here, where I shouldn't have a problem here. Once the bobbin starts to build, that the magnet wire will break, but you know, you just never know. You can see it's almost feeding itself on the bobbin, doing a really nice job laying down. We're not on cruising speed yet, but you can see I've cranked the RPMs up here. I'm just north of 100 RPMs. As you can see here, things are still progressing, so you know, maybe in about another 10-15 minutes or so here winding, I'll go ahead and check the DC resistance here, see where we're at with the coil. Let's check the DC resistance here. Okay, just make certain my eyes aren't playing tricks on me. So about 1.1K or 1100 ohms, and we're shooting for 1800, so we got a little ways to go. Okay, I've been winding for about another 15 minutes here, and as soon as I get back to the center here, I'm going to stop the NEMA motor, and let's do another DC resistant check here, see what we've got. I hope I'm at the point where I'm just a little over 1800. I can just pull off a few windings or just let it be. The exact DC resistance is not that critical. Okay, I am north of my target by 85 ohms. Let me just double check my results here. Let me cut a piece of Kapton tape here and just get it placed over the coil here just to keep everything nice and tight. And there's a look at the coil. Let's get the coil winding machine out of the way and start dressing up the leads here. Get some more Kapton tape here on the coil itself. The other thing I'll do here, this is my innermost winding, and of course I've still got to dress this up here, my outermost winding. I'll label those with the Sharpie. Here's a better look at the field coil, and you can see I've got my outer winding here notated. Probably can't see that well with an O, and then the inner. And I've got my leads here sanded down and cleaned and ready to solder up once the epoxy here dries. Based on the field coil going back in that canister that you guys saw, you can see I'm taking my leads and bringing them out the opposite direction. Now I can't use the wire that I would like to use to go down to the speaker plug from this location due to the size of the wire. I just don't have that flexibility. So I'll use this solid conductor just to the outside of the field coil, and then we'll have to splice into that to make a home run back to the 4-prong speaker plug. I'll continue to let the epoxy set up, and then I'll go ahead and get these wires attached, and we'll do some additional DC resistance measurements to make certain that we're still close to our 1800 ohms. This will be really hard to see, and I'll continue to do this off camera, but what I'm doing is just taking the magnet wire and wrapping it around the conductor here to form a coil. A closer look now with everything soldered up, and I checked DC resistance, and we're good. When the canister dries, we'll go ahead and get this placed in it. Of course, I've still got to wrap the humbucking coil back around. The humbucking coil is about 85 inches of about a 24 AWG wire, and it's wrapped in the same rotation as the field coil itself. So let me go ahead and get that wrapped, and then what I'll do is have those two leads come out more in this direction. Alright, the humbucking coil is in place now. This just represents my starting winding location and my finish. And the, of course, notated is the humbucking coil, and then on the opposite side, field coil, 1800 ohms, and my starting lead and my finish lead. Let's check the DC resistance again. And looking good. 1.849K, so 1849 ohms. And the humbucking coil here, you guys recall, what, 85 inches of wire or so, 24 ohms, so probably somewhere around 0.1, 0.2 ohms. See the meter moving back and forth. Alright, let's check on the canister that this resides in, and see if it's dry enough that I can work with it. If not, we'll wait a day or so and then try again. After a little de-rusting here, it cleaned up pretty good. I want to go ahead and hit this with a coat of primer before painting it black, just so we don't get rust reform inside the canister area, or what will be the housing, of course, for the field coil and humbucking coil. Taped out and ready for priming and painting. I tell you, that turned out really nice. The inside is just primed after doing the rust removal in some misty paint. Outside looks nice. I elected to leave those little brass grommets on there, and that's just due to the conductor wire that I could use and actually be able to make the bend radius and get out from the coil to the, of course, the external side of this form factor. I've got to get over here and up and close with this just to make sure that the wires feed through with no kinking or anything. Okay, it looks like it's going to drop right in there. And a great sign there. Alright, let's grab the old speaker frame now and take a look at that center pole piece.